Hey, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well, and it is time for another weekly track roundup where I go over the songs that stuck out to me this week as the best and the worst. First, I want to shout out our sponsor in this video. You guys know who it is. You're basically memeing it at this point. The good people over at the Ridge Wallet with an I voted sticker on it. I threw my I voted sticker on it because I literally did vote. This is secondarily a PSA for voting, as you should get involved in the political process, please. But the Ridge makes these nifty, money-clipped, metal-plated, minimalist wallets that fit nicely in your front pocket. Get rid of that old, disgusting, bulky leather wallet in your back pocket today. Hit up the link in the description down below and use promo code FANTANO to get 10% off of your order. Also, want to shout out our Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links. Holidays are coming up. If you're thinking of buying yourself or someone else a rig, a turntable, some Bluetooth speakers, an amplifier, some audiophile gear, use that link. We get kickback from it. Does not add to the overall price. Supports the segment, supports the channels. And also want to shout out a few songs and projects before we get into the best and worst tracks. Serpentwithfeet saw fit to release a few sort of stripped back acoustic cuts of songs from the last full-length album, which are actually pretty enchanting and gorgeous. One of them is linked at the top of the description box, and all the other tracks I'm going to talk about in this video are linked down there as well, too, so do not miss out on that. Also, revising a song, reworking a song, is Perfume Genius, the track Allen. This is actually kind of a lovely rendition of that song. And let me also shout out another revision, Big Ghost LTD. You might remember from a while. I mean, I think he's still active, but a while ago, this dude was writing some of the funniest, most brutal, and most on-point hip-hop commentary to ever land on the internet. And now he has overseen a total remix of Jay-Z's the Black album. So basically all the instrumentals redone, all the instrumentals completely replaced and switched out with something else, new beats and everything like that. And there are actually like some really good instrumentals on this thing and some really interesting revisions of some of the tracks on this record. I paid close attention to what he was doing with, Dirt on Your Shoulder and 99 Problems, just because, those tracks were so big when I was in college. And again, sort of the creative liberties that he took with kind of redoing this record is pretty awesome. So moving on from there, worst tracks. Got a handful over here, not too many. There are more tracks that I loved this week than not. But first off, this new collaborative cut between Zayn and Nicki Minaj, No Candle, No Light. The only thing that is more cobbled together than this song is this badly photoshopped album cover. Zayn and Nicki's collaboration here doesn't really come together all that well. Falls emotionally and vocally flat, and like pretty much every single Zayn has been dropping since his full-length album, it is boring and bland, as vocally he just has no personality, no pen game, and the instrumentals he pops on have just no flavor whatsoever. Moving on from there, I've already talked about this in a single review on the Fantano channel, but this new collaborative Creed 2 soundtrack cut from Kendrick Lamar, Pharrell, and Mike Will Made It, The Mantra, is one of the most generic pieces of trap I've heard in a while, especially considering the names involved in this thing, sadly. Moving on from there, the Chainsmokers have dropped a new track called Beach House, and it's just a really tasteless, trashy piece of pop, which unfortunately was inspired by the duo Beach House. And not to sort of, talk negatively toward Victoria and Alex. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But there are literally some passages of this song that sound almost like, kind of the spacey, organ-backed music that you typically get out of a Beach House record, but It's like doubled up with synths and drums and everything just to make it busier. It's not like the Chainsmokers are writing a dream pop song here or anything, but there are some elements of the instrumental that do kind of come off that way. But again, of course, like they kind of throw a bunch of stuff on top of it so that you're not getting that same effect or anything. It's kind of like they captured a smidge of an aesthetic and kind of ran with it with their usual production and songwriting style. So I guess moving on from there. And finally, Ariel Pink has a new track out titled Moped. Look, Ariel Pink, I've celebrated him as one of the best pop songwriters and producers of this decade, essentially. However, a lot of people forget, back in the Ariel Pink archives, there's a lot of weird, difficult to digest and experimental stuff. And this track really sort of sees him throwing it back to that. It's essentially this 8-minute collage of visuals matched with this ongoing noise piece that's very distorted and always kind of shifting, and it's not very enjoyable. And it's not even really that it's just too abstract or that it's a noise piece, but I don't really find the noise or the sounds that he's working with to be all that stimulating. They're kind of like burnt out and lo-fi to the point where they don't really have much body or flavor to them. It mostly just sounds like annoying background sounds, just very annoying, noisy background sounds to me. One of my least favorite noise pieces in a while, I guess. Let's move on to the tracks that I thought were just okay. Not terrible, not amazing, but certainly worth shouting out and pointing in your direction if you're into this kind of thing. But Bam 1, this artist who goes by the name of Spelling has a new track out titled Haunted Water. And obviously, as you can see from the front cover, it's being released on Sacred Bones Records. I like what this track is trying to do, but I'm not exactly sure if it achieves it or if it does it as well as it possibly could. I mean, the production could be better. The vocal performances could be better. It's a little rough. It's a little amateurish, but there is something very dark and occult and witchy about this track. Like, if the performances and the production were more high quality, I could almost see this track being like, wow, this is like if Witch House were actually good. If any of you can remember back to the artistic red herring that is Witch House, the totally forgotten chapter in really gimmicky internet indie music that is Witch House. But yeah, I could almost see this track as being like, wow, this is like Witch House, but not totally garbage, with its synthetic beats and dark synthesizers and the vocal stylings. Like it sounds very old school and occult. Sounds very gothish, but there are a lot of contemporary elements to the writing and the production as well, which felt kind of refreshing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Moving on from there, Mercury Rev has a new record on the way. Single dropped, Sermon, featuring Margo Price. Each track on this thing just kind of features a different musician, different vocalist. And yeah, I mean, it does live up to the title in that it sounds gospel-inspired. It does sound a little religious. I can't say that I care for the vocal performance all that much. It does feel emotionally a little monotone and one-dimensional. It does kind of lose its flavor after a while as the performance is not that captivating. It's not that passionate. Though, again, I do think it captures that general gospel vibe along with the instrumental. Shout out to Mercury Rev for still keeping at it. Moving on from there, this new cut from Mary Lattimore, It Feels Like Floating, Jónsi Healing Fields remix, Jónsi of Sigur Rós fame, obviously. Yeah, this thing, I will admit, I have not listened to it from corner to corner to corner, as it is 22 minutes long. And I didn't have enough time to listen to the whole thing to get through it to do this video, as most of the songs that I listen to are much more compact when I'm talking about them here. But I can say throughout this 22-minute song, there are many, many beautiful passages of glacial ambient tones, and the vocals that are thrown onto it weave into them very nicely. I can't say much for the composition having I guess maybe more the structure, having that strong of a direction to it, especially since I wasn't able to sample the whole thing multiple times over. But still, at least aesthetically, I can say the sound of this thing is pretty lush. It's pretty gorgeous, and maybe slightly haunting at points with the vocals laid into it. Moving on from there, Kodak Black, Take One. Brand new cut over here. And yeah, I mean, I'll say this is consistently coherent, much in the way a lot of his output has been lately. It seems like Kodak has been a little bit more on the ball in terms of just sounding a lot more intelligible on the mic, and like he's really got like his shit together, like he's really focusing when he's in the studio. However, lyrically and stylistically, I can't really say this is anything more than just kind of your average Kodak Black track. I mean, if you've heard 4 or 5 of his best songs, you've pretty much heard everything that this track has to offer, honestly. Moving on from there, sort of on the fence with this new Hannah Diamond song. I do like the production that PC Music brings to Hannah Diamond's music. I do like her vocals. I think there's some elements of the lyrics on this track, the heartbreak and the relationship ending and so on and so forth, that I thought were pretty captivating. However, I thought sort of going kind of a ballad direction with this song was kind of underwhelming, and I'm not exactly sure if Hannah and the PC Music crew have really worked out all the kinks when it comes to working her sound into more of a, I guess, subtle and emotionally captivating style, a more dramatic style. All the stuff that I've loved from Hannah up until this point have had like a lot of bump to it, pretty straightforward, pretty poppy, postmodern, futuristic, and strange, a little tongue-in-cheek. However, to take kind of a darker, more subtle, emotional approach on this new track over here, it just felt like something was missing. Certainly nuance, because the instrumental, while it is on the softer side, it doesn't really have, again, I'll say nuance, a whole lot of nuance to it. So there are things about this track that I like, things that I think it could have done better, but still all around, give it a shot, especially if you've been following everything PC Music has been doing up until this point. Moving on from there, this new track from Comethazine, High Riser, production from Kenny Beats, which is pretty much the reason I'm attracted to this thing. Some people have been asking me, hey man, what do you think about Comethazine? What do you think about the new project and everything? Because you haven't reviewed the album. I mean, I feel like this song kind of puts pretty straightforwardly what exactly I feel about Comethazine and his sound and everything. And while I like the production, I like the energy that he brings on the microphone, he just kind of sounds like a poor man's Little Pump at this point. He just sounds like a Little Pump knockoff, and that's it. And listen, he sounds young. He's still kind of making his way in, I'm sure, and he can potentially go anywhere from here. Who knows at this point? Maybe he'll be the next Kendrick Lamar. But for right now, I can't really say he stands out in the current SoundCloud rapper meta. He just sounds really generic, just sounds really run-of-the-mill. It's got energy to it. It bangs, but there's not really any shelf life to it. And I would say not really any shelf life beyond playing it twice, because once you've heard it twice, I mean, there are better songs in this style. So, I mean, why would I sit around listening to this? But still, that's not to say that has anything to do with Kenny's production. Kenny's banging beat on this thing is actually the best thing about the song. So, moving on from there, Big K.R.I.T has dropped kind of a new little EP or single or whatever, 3 tracks. Higher, King Part 6, Look What I Got, Glorious. Can't really say they're the best that I've heard from him. Could potentially be leftovers from his last full-length album. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But yeah, the production on these tracks is pretty basic. The songwriting is pretty basic as well. Thematically, not really anything new or cutting edge for K.R.I.T. Just kind of seems like ideas that could have potentially been sketches at one point, but he kind of brought them forward and squeaked them up, I guess cleaned them up rather, to the point where they sounded high grade and they sounded professional. They pretty much sounded done, but they're not like really the best songs that he's ever put out. So, bunch them together, throw them together. Fans will eat them up. Yeah, they're okay. If you like Southern hip hop with a lot of soul, some quality lyrics, some thoughtful and personal song topics, a lot of emotion on the mic, check these tracks out. Not really any bangers among these cuts either. A little bit more on the introspective side from K.R.I.T on these cuts too. Moving on from there, let's get into the best tracks. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Onyx Collective, who have a new track out titled Space Wars featuring Sporting Life. Yes, that Sporting Life, if you do remember Rat King. Onyx Collective are a jazz outfit, and this song over here sounds like if postmodern jazz had gone electronic shoegaze. I'll say that much. It's pretty intriguing, and some really interesting horn melodies throughout this cut too. Moving on from there, Kemba, formerly known as YC the Cynic, has a brand new cut out featuring Smino, who has been getting a lot of attention thanks to his full length that just dropped. Yeah, I mean, some of you guys might remember YC the Cynic from one of my more positive reviews from a while ago. And let me say, he's really flipped the script on this brand new track over here. I would say a lot of the great qualities of his music in the past have also carried over onto this new song. It's soulful, it's lyrical, it's passionate. He's just got a great flow. He's just got a great delivery. But now instead of kind of trying to work with a more updated version of boom bap and jazz rap, he's really trying to go super contemporary and is going into this jazzy hip hop, neo soul, alternative R&B blend. And despite the fact that I sort of see him as more of an MC, or have seen him as more of an MC with a bit of an old school soul, he updates to this newer, more contemporary sound really well, and I think does it better than some of the people who actually have been working with this sound for a little while now. I mean, I appreciate that he's working with a guy like Smino because stylistically his stuff is very much in that same wheelhouse, but personally I enjoy this track more than I have any song off of Smino's new album. Not to hate on the dude or anything, but it just is what it is. So yeah, I highly recommend this track, especially if you're into that more neo-soul hip-hop style that's very prevalent right now. I feel like Kemba really pulls it off well. Moving on from there, Danger Mouse and K.R.I.T have miraculously collaborated on a new track titled Lux Prima, and it is a epic symphonic piece of kind of art rock or kind of, I don't know, maybe Baroque pop or something. I'm not exactly sure how to categorize it, but all I know is I'm hearing very artsy elements of rock music, maybe a little indie in there, and it's got kind of an orchestral presentation to it. And it's a pretty lengthy track as well, so ambitious, I guess, efforts on both of their parts on this collaborative cut, and they come together really well. K.R.I.T, I think, cleans up very nicely on the microphone. It's not typically the super emotionally tattered or kind of edgy vocals that you might remember her laying down on many a Yeah Yeah Yeahs record. This is a much more mellow K.R.I.T, but still I think she does pretty great on the song. Moving on from there, digging on this new J Balvin track, miraculously titled Reggaeton, which I've gotten people at my butt before saying, oh, you don't review enough of that stuff, or you don't like it, or blah, 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 blah. And I mean, honestly, for a song that's obviously in the genre that it is titled after, yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. I mean, it's got your typical like beat. I do kind of like the very sweet, what are they, like kind of synth or guitar melodies that are looped throughout the track. They are really sweet. They have a nice earworm quality to them. And Balvin's flows and vocal melodies over the track are really entertaining. I know a lot of the time this music, this genre, gets derided as not being all that deep or significant or repetitive and so on and so forth, but I do think Balvin does a great job of embodying everything that one would expect from a reggaeton song, but with fresher, more updated production and some actually standout melodies that bring the sound, bring the style quite a bit of flavor. So I like the track. I think it's a good tune. It was a fun tune. Moving on from there, Hozier, who I reviewed not too long ago because he dropped a new EP. Movement is the name of this new suddenly dropped track. And I actually wish it had been released on the EP that he just came out with, because it's actually a pretty powerful song. Gotta say, I'm pretty hyped for whatever album he has coming down the pipe in 2019, even if I did think that a lot of the songwriting on his breakout debut was so-so, or really just kind of, he was overselling it a little bit vocally. But now this tune over here, again, powerful tune, amazing finish, great vocal melodies on this thing, quality production. So I don't know. Hopefully this next record ends up being a smash, because I think the material that I'm hearing him create recently, the direction that he's going in is a bit more flavorful, tasteful, more dynamic instrumentation, better vocal performances. So I'm down. I'm down. Also down with this new Gucci Mane track featuring Kevin Gates, which is one of the darkest, eeriest, and most cutthroat songs that Guap has dropped in a while. Kevin Gates does pretty well on the track too, so shout out to him. And Girlpool, which is a project that I've never really been that into lately, has dropped a song from the project's forthcoming album. I believe it's dropping in February of 2019. That's pretty compelling. It's a solid indie rock tune with, I would say, a whiff of Elliott Smith coming out of the songwriting. The guitar chords and the vocal melody are really impressive for a newer indie group, which, I mean, a lot of the songwriting in the genre currently is either so bland, or it's just trying to bite off of some old garage rock style, or it's trying to bite off of some friggin', Mac DeMarco melody or something like that. This, however, had a bit of an edge to it, and definitely took some musical talent to sort of drum up, I think, this melody and this chord progression and everything. So moving on from there, finally, I think this is the last track that I want to shout out. This new track from Fontaines D.C, Too Real, is the name of the song that I would love to point you guys to. It's a very wiry, intense piece of art punk that I thought was pretty fantastic. Loved the vocals on it, and it comes with a really oddball music video too, involving, I think, a lot of ping pong balls. Do give it a shot. It was a fun time. And that is going to be it for the weekly track roundup, everybody. Remember, once again, this video is sponsored by the good people over at The Ridge, and also I voted. Link down there. Hit that up in the description box. Promo code Fantano, along with, once more, all of the songs that I mentioned in this video. Hopefully you guys got some good recommendations out of the weekly track roundup this week. And I will see you in the next one, in the next review. Anthony Fantano, weekly track roundup, forever.